Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet, and we have some breaking news about Joker 2. I'm so glad we have sites like We Got This Covered because they just got us covered. They are telling me that Joker 2 is in early development, and it will be set years after the first. Guess what, guys? This is bullcrap. We Got This Covered is garbage. And you know why it is garbage? Because we can prove this isn't the case. It's not in development because Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix did a story for the LA Times. They did an interview because they're out there doing all the awards contention. Because not only is this film so successfully at the box office, it's #1 R-rated film, but now it's potentially going to get a lot of awards. Oscars, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG Awards. It'll be interesting to see what actually gives Joker attention. And so they're out there doing press to attempt to win that up because they should. They have a potential to actually go there. And in doing so, a lot of people are talking about sequels and how they feel now that the movie actually is successful. Because you got to remember, this was a hard film for Todd Phillips to get through. Not only did DC have to not have any faith in this movie, they had to split the financing with other studios, which someone's regretting tremendously. But it took 4 months for him to talk Joaquin Phoenix into doing it as well. So the fact that the film came out, it was received positively, and then box office has been such a huge, one of the most profitable comic book movies ever. They're clearly being asked, well, can we do more Joker? And so it's very interesting to see because previously both Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix have said, no, stand alone. I love the idea this is sort of a one and done. But now, of course, money and maybe opportunity has changed their tune. So let's go through in some of these quotes where they talk about this. This article is worth reading. I'll link it down below. But down here, they talked about... I remember 8 years ago, I was told movies are changing. They're not making the movies that you want to make. So you've got to they're not making the movies that you want to make. So you've got to do one of those. It makes sense. It probably is a good strategy. But for me, I guess the fear was that you'd get locked into doing something repeatedly that you don't really care about, that doesn't motivate or excite you. And that's his quote to sort of knocking down other movies like this. He had turned them down because obviously Marvel had come after him and he insisted, I'm open to anything. I will consider a live action version of Roadrunner. But he didn't want to be swallowed into that sort of superhero machine. And so he got pushed by Todd Phillips. And then this quote was very interesting. There's a little wildness in Joaquin's eyes, Phillips says. I jokingly says he seems like an agent of chaos. He likes blurring the line between what's real and what's not. Just based on what I'd seen him in movies and TV doing interviews, there was something about that chaotic nature that just felt right. It took him 4 months to agree to the project. And then working with a budget of $55 million, which is friggin' cheap, guys. A fraction, yes, of movies like Avengers and such. They pushed deeper in development and into Fleck's complex, disturbed psyche. From the start, they felt there was more than enough to uncover. In the second or third week of shooting, Joaquin Phoenix says, I was like, Todd, can you start working on a sequel? There's way too much to explore. It was kind of in jest, but not really. So now Joaquin Phoenix is admitting he has been wanting to do a sequel because he just loved being in that character. Phillips makes it clear that there's nothing in the works at the moment. So there you go. That's the confirmation. Now, Warner Brothers could be trying to put some stuff on paper to see, but nothing officially is happening. So this, not only is it in early development, is incorrect. Years in the future, when they make assumptions like this, it's just how do we make a broad assumption that can be true? God, I hate clickbait. We Got This Covered is the worst of it. Any sites you see saying that, call them out because we got to call this out because they don't have it covered. They're just trying to buy your clicks for views and it annoys me. Anyway, here's the reality. While nothing is in the works, he's not opposed to the idea of a sequel. But it couldn't just be this wild, crazy movie about the clown prince of crime. It would have to be some sort of thematic. It would have to have some sort of thematic resonance in a similar way that this does, because I think that's ultimately why the movie connected. It's what's going on underneath. So many movies are about the spark, and this is about the powder. If you could capture that again in a real way, that would be interesting. So there you go. So he's not opposed to it. He's a smart man. He knows there's a lot of money on the table. This is the man, let's not forget, that not only made Hangover 2, but made Hangover 3. So, not to call him out, but clearly the man wants to take a paycheck once in a while, and more power to you. When you get to a point like that where a franchise is that hot, look, take the money. I still think Hangover 3 was worse than Hangover 2. What do you guys think? That's a good debate someday. But let's keep going through this article rather. This was obviously a tough film to get, but it was interesting because he talks about the controversy. It was an awkward position to be in because I thought, well, I can't address this because this is the thing that is potentially part of the problem. That's precisely why what you shouldn't do. So it suddenly seems like I was being evasive and trying to avoid the topic because it made me uncomfortable. But I really was thinking this is the very thing that would excite this kind of personality. Was all Joaquin Phoenix returning back, sort of commenting on everyone sparking the controversy, and he's right. That's what the character would like. Oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, and everyone's saying this is going to trigger something. That's the kind of stuff that actually will trigger something. So the media doesn't even realize that they spark all this controversy and the shock, and that's where the danger is. Just let the movie be the movie. After what he calls weeks of noise and mashugas, Phillips says he feels vindicated to see the film, which he both and Phoenix says was never meant to glorify the Joker's behavior and has struck a chord with audiences. It's not the box office, but the reception that's been vindicating, Phillips says. It's the fact that I get emails from people telling me that the movie made them look at their sister, who suffers from schizophrenia, in a different light. Ultimately, the movie is about the power of kindness and the lack of empathy in the world. And the audience seems to have picked up on that. It's amazing that a movie that was supposed to inspire, as they put it, mass mayhem, really has just inspired a bunch of people dancing down staircases. I think that speaks more to our times than anything. He's right on the money, and I think that's really the point here of what this movie is and what people overreacted on. And look, you don't have to like the movie, but it begged so many important questions that I'm glad they asked, that I think we all have to ask, and I applaud it for that. It's been super interesting to see how people react to the movie and what they see, and to me, all of those answers are valid. I'm talking about the theories. Normally, you have to answer those questions, but this really is a participatory and interactive. It's up to the audience. That's so rare, especially with a big studio movie. I don't want to ruin that by saying, no, this is what it is. To me, there are so many different ways to view the character and his experience that I don't think you can come up with a particular meaning. So there's his theory that there is no meaning. To him, it's these ambiguities that make the film worthwhile. For the record, Phoenix says he does personally believe that Fleck is the actual Joker, but I don't know, he adds with a wry smile, it's just my opinion. So there you go. I mean, so many theories going on of what was real, what was not. Clearly, I think Joaquin and Todd are right. Don't say what it is. Let the audience keep wondering. That does make it more interesting. Sometimes some people think that's a cop-out, but no, it allows you to, it's like a book. You get to adapt it your own way in your own mind to figure out what it means to you, like a song lyric. So I liked that the film was a little ambiguous, and I loved when we sort of revealed and pulled back the curtains to sort of know, was his neighbor there? Was she ever there? All that. Was she at the club? All those types of things made the film much more interesting for a rewatch and to really make you think about not only what's happening in the movie, but just people with real mental illness. When you walk by somebody on the streets who's screaming at themselves, you got to remember that person needs help, medication, treatment to sort of help them get through that. And it happens a lot. And so to see a movie with such a big character and a big studio go behind and let him make this movie, I applaud it. I do think, as we talked about in our Nerd Wars, which you should go check out, is Joker overrated? I think it's done a lot of good and it has made a lot of conversation as worthy to give this film the respect that it's getting. So what do you guys think? Will it get nominated for awards? Does it deserve to be? Do you want to see the sequel? What kind of sequel could they actually make? He's talking about something that would have thematic resonance. Does that mean it can't have Batman in it and it can't be more of a commercially viable option? It needs to be more of another character study. Does Joker try and enlist another villain? What are some stuff you want to see? Put some theories down below, and I'll do another follow-up video talking about potential Joker sequels in the future. I'd love your feedback. I'll give you credit. Hit me up on social media if you got them there too. And thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome weekend, and stay tuned for more Nerd Wars every Tuesday and Thursday. Check out the playlist and have an awesome weekend. Bye, everybody.